If he knocks out Hooker, then I think Virgil is ready for the very best, and that very best, I think, is right here in the arena. Terence Crawford.
Yeah, it's a lot to bite off there, Oscar. Terence Crawford is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. What do you need to see from Virgil Ortiz to make you believe he's ready for that test?
Well, look, I mean, why not go after the very best? I mean, Crawford is the best pound-for-pound champion in the world today. He's very gifted, very talented. I think it'll be a terrific fight.
Oscar De La Hoya came out and said that Crawford is the #1 pound for pound, and he corrected Chris Mannix that worked for DAZN. He said, no. He ain't one of the best. He the best pound for pound fighter in the world. And I couldn't agree more because, see, you see ESPN, you see Timothy Bradley. I mean, I don't know what he's doing. He over here claiming one day he will say Crawford will be a prime Floyd Mayweather, right? And then he will turn around and say Lomachenko is #1 pound for pound and Crawford is #2. Then Lomachenko lost. Now Bradley is claiming that Canelo is #1 when he just criticized Canelo for fighting a punching bag. This is what Timothy Bradley said, right? Nevertheless, we already know what time it is. What's understood don't have to be explained. The truth remained the same. The #1 pound for pound is Terence Bug Crawford for multiple reasons. One of the main reasons is that he always fights everybody and anybody. It's free smoke when it comes to Terence Crawford. Unlike Canelo, Crawford does not petition not to fight somebody. Crawford does not give up his belt to avoid a dangerous mandatory. Nah, he's free smoke. When he was at 135, he fought the best. He fought Gamboa when everybody was ducking Gamboa. And then he moved up in weight to 140 because nobody was willing to fight him other than Gamboa. He fought Ricky Byrne at 135. So when he moved up from 135, there was a lot of names, but he was clearly #1. No question about it. So he moved up to 140, became undisputed. Unlike Tio, where there's a dispute at the moment in time, when Crawford was the undisputed champion at 140, there was no dispute. He completely cleaned out the division. He fought Postal when Postal was undefeated. When people was telling him you ducking Postal, he just knocked out Matisse. He fought Flex Diaz, who beat Lamont Pearson at the time, and he was also a gold medalist. They were accusing Crawford of ducking him, and he fought him the next day. And then, obviously, when he moved up to 147, right away, he said, this ain't Keith one time. This is Crawford every time. I am the smoke. So if Texas is the smoke city, I am the smoke. I'm already there. As soon as he moved up to 147, he called out Errol Spence, Keith Thurman. This is why Crawford is #1, because he's always looking to fight the best. Also, when you're looking at pound for pound, you got to talk about how dominant a fighter is. For example, Crawford, he never had a close fight. He always dominated his opponent. The closest one that come to mind was Gamboa. Gamboa had success in the first 4 rounds, I believe. And then Crawford, he knocked down Gamboa and completely dominated him after that. He went from getting outclassed to beating up on Gamboa. So he completely dominated every single fighter he faced. Crawford is not just a pound for pound fighter. He's not just one of the best boxers in the world. He's also one of the best punchers in the world. He's a puncher boxer. He's not a boxer puncher. He's a puncher boxer. He could knock you out with either hand. He could outbox you. He could beat you from a southpaw position, orthodox position. That's why he's so dominant, because he's so versatile. Unlike Canelo, for example, who they compare him to, it was Lomachenko at first, and we saw what happened to Lomachenko. Now Canelo Alvarez came into the table. I don't know how he bypassed Terence Crawford when Terence was always #2. When truly he was #1, even ESPN was disrespecting Crawford. Now, some way, somehow, Canelo bypassed Crawford. So let's talk about it. Canelo Alvarez lost to Floyd Mayweather, had a close fight with Trout, truly lost to Lara. A lot of people say he lost to Gennady Golovkin twice, looked bad against Kovalev, an old Kovalev, and always picks the weakest link in the process, right? So this is the fighter you guys talking about as #1. When he said out of his own mouth, I ain't fighting no Mexican fighters anymore. The second most dominant race in the sport of boxing. He, the pioneer of the NBF belt, no black fighters witness protection plan by the WBC, right? So this man won't fight the most dominant race in the sport of boxing. He's on the Europe tour as we speak. He had a plan of becoming undisputed at 160 at one point, and all of a sudden, now he's on a Europe tour at 168 to become undisputed. I'm trying to figure out what happened to his game plan of becoming undisputed at 160, becoming the first Mexican to become undisputed at 160. I'll tell you what happened. The NBF rule applied because Andrade and Charlo happened to be in that division. This man been avoiding Andrade and Charlo for the past 7 years. It ain't a coincidence that the last time Canelo lost on paper was 8 years ago when he fought an undefeated Black American fighter, Floyd Mayweather. And after that, when he fought a slick fighter like Lara, he lost. So what are we talking about? You don't see Terence Crawford saying no black fighters. You don't see Terence Crawford saying no Mexican fighters. You see Terence Crawford wanted to fight Virgil Ortiz, saying that he ain't even ready. You see Terence Crawford challenging Errol Spence, heading to the smoke. This is why Terence is number one, because in every single division, 135, he fought Gamboa, obviously, Ricky Byrne, the rest avoided him. He went to 140, became undisputed. Then they said, oh, well, that division wasn't too deep. Then he moved to 147, the deepest division in boxing, want to become undisputed there. It's not his fault that Errol Spence is saving him for last. It's not his fault that Keith Thurman didn't want to fight him when he had his O. You best believe if Canelo was at 147, he will be ducking both Crawford and Errol Spence. But when you see tables turn and the roles reverse, you see Virgil Ortiz on the come up, a great fighter. Do you see Errol Spence and Terence Crawford shying away from Virgil Ortiz? Absolutely not. Matter of fact, they went to his fight. On the other hand, Canelo, he won't even acknowledge Andrade. He won't even acknowledge Charlo. This is why Oscar De La Hoya said, I promote like I used to fight. I go for the best. And this is why he believed Terence Crawford is number one, just like Eric Morales said, just like Floyd Mayweather also said. Canelo, I mean, how can you claim you the best in the world? And you the pioneer of the NBF belt, the witness protection belt. I mean, how can you claim you the best when you avoid the most dominant race in boxing? Not just one, two, the Black American fighters and the Mexican American fighters. He avoiding the undefeated Black American fighters, Andrade and Charlo. He also avoiding the undefeated Mexican fighters, David Benavidez. How can you claim you the best in the world when you're not even the best in your division? How you doing, AKHi? Who this is and where you calling from?
My name's Dustin. I'm calling from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I want to say, man, I absolutely love your channel. You are probably the most intelligent person when it comes to boxing. But damn, what Bud said.
Hold it. You're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I bear witness, there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's what I said, Larry, on the Bungle fight. Thanking you.
They call me the problem, but you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.